Logan had never expected to crash land on an asteroid outpost in the far reaches of the galaxy. The sensors on his small starship had gone haywire after a sudden meteor shower, and before he knew it, he was hurtling toward a gray, rocky surface. He gripped the controls tightly, sweat forming on his brow as the ship skidded across the jagged ground. Sparks flew from the damaged hull and a metallic screech echoed inside the cockpit. Finally, with one last jolt, the ship came to a stop. He exhaled sharply, relieved that he had survived, but his relief was short-lived. The outpost was alive. Tiny moving shapes scuttled across the rocks toward him. They looked like people, but only 6 inches tall. Before he could react, Logan's ship was surrounded. Tiny armored figures stared up at him, their eyes wide with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. They moved in precise formation, clearly trained for combat. Logan raised his hands, trying to show that he meant no harm. "I come in peace," he said, though his voice boomed in the silence of the outpost. The creatures didn't move closer or retreat. They simply stared. Suddenly, a voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Human, finally. I need you to put it in me. You're the only one who fits." Logan almost fell backward, tripping over a loose piece of metal. His heart skipped a beat. The voice was small, yet it carried an authority that made the tiny soldiers snap to attention. Logan blinked, trying to locate the speaker. Among the swarm, a small figure floated above the rest, balancing on some kind of hover device. She was tiny, barely 6 inches tall, but she had a presence that could fill a room. Her head was slightly larger in proportion to her body, and her eyes sparkled with intelligence and determination. Logan swallowed hard, realizing that the statement was not what it seemed. I don't understand," he said cautiously. The little figure hovered closer, pointing to a narrow vent on the side of the massive asteroid outpost. "The quantum core. It is jammed deep inside the reactor. No Pipperian can fit through the conduit. Only a human with your hands can reach it. Please, human, you must put it in me." Logan looked at the vent. To the tiny alien, it must have been a massive structure, but to him, it was simply a long, narrow passage. He glanced at the hovering engineer. "So you want me to fix your reactor?" he asked, trying not to sound ridiculous. Ziri, the tiny engineer, rolled her eyes and gestured emphatically. "Yes, fix it. I cannot do it myself. Hurry, human." He nodded, realizing there was no time for awkwardness. If the reactor did not function, the outpost would collapse under the strain of its own energy systems. Logan climbed out of his ship, moving carefully among the tiny soldiers who parted respectfully to let him pass. Each step he took caused small tremors in the ground, sending dust swirling around. The tiny figures moved aside with remarkable coordination, clearly trained to work around much larger beings. Logan could not help but marvel at their discipline and precision. As he approached the vent, Ziri hovered beside him, giving rapid instructions. "The core is jammed at exactly this angle. Insert the stabilizer first, then twist slowly and push. Careful, it must fit perfectly." Logan peered into the vent. It was tight, almost impossibly so, but with careful maneuvering he thought he could reach the obstruction. He knelt down, sliding his arm inside the narrow passage, careful not to damage the delicate machinery. "Push harder," Ziri shouted. Her tiny voice was almost comical compared to the size of the task, but Logan followed her instructions. Slowly, he felt the jam give way. Sparks flew from the edges of the reactor conduit, and a soft hum filled the air. Logan twisted the stabilizer as directed, inserting it fully into the reactor core. His hand cramped, but he ignored the pain. The tiny engineer hovered close, watching intently. "Yes, that is it. Keep going." Just as Logan began to feel confident, alarms blared throughout the outpost. He straightened up, peering around the edges of the vent. Outside, he could see flashes of light, not from his ship, but from the empty space beyond the asteroid. Pirate ships. They had detected the powerless outpost and were moving in fast. Logan's heart raced. "Ziri, we have company," he shouted. "Do not worry. Finish the core first. If we lose power, the outpost is destroyed," she replied, her voice calm but urgent. Logan gritted his teeth. He had no choice. He returned to the vent, sliding his arm deeper, careful not to lose his grip. He could feel the jammed core shifting under his hand. Sweat ran down his face as he manipulated the delicate machinery. The tiny engineer hovered even closer, giving precise instructions. "Twist it slightly to the left. Now push, careful." Not too hard. Outside, the pirate ships were moving closer. Laser fire streaked through space, and tiny drones from the pirates began probing the outpost's shields. The tiny Papirian soldiers scuttled along the walls, adjusting controls and preparing defenses. Logan could hear their rapid movements, the whirring of their small machinery, and the occasional panicked shout from a nearby soldier. Finally, with a last push and a careful twist, Logan felt the core shift into place. Sparks flew, but the hum of the reactor stabilized almost immediately. "It's done," he shouted. Ziri's eyes sparkled with relief and admiration. "You did it. Human, you are remarkable. The core is stable." Logan pulled his arm from the vent, rubbing his sore muscles. He looked around at the tiny engineers and soldiers who were now cheering in their own high-pitched voices. Ziri hovered above him, grinning from ear to ear. "Human, you are truly the only one who fits. Without you, we would all be lost." He laughed nervously, scratching the back of his head. "I guess size isn't everything, huh?" Ziri tilted her head, confused. "What do you mean?" Before he could answer, the alarms blared again. The pirate ships had breached the outpost's outer shields and were moving in. Logan's ship had minor repairs, but it was still grounded. The tiny Papirian soldiers could hold their own in some situations, but against a full pirate fleet they were outmatched. Ziri hovered next to him, her expression serious. "Human, we must fight. If the pirates board the outpost, all is lost." Logan nodded, already scanning the corridors for weapons and defenses. Despite their small size, the Papirian soldiers moved with remarkable coordination. They had tiny energy rifles, shields that glowed with protective light, and even miniature missile launchers. Logan's presence added strength to their defenses. As his size allowed him to operate controls and manipulate equipment the Papirians could not reach. The pirate drones began probing the outpost, attempting to disable the shields. Logan and Ziri worked side by side, activating energy relays and directing the small army. "Careful with that panel," Ziri shouted. "It controls the secondary shields. If it fails, we are done." Logan followed her instructions, twisting knobs and pressing buttons with precision. The hum of the reactor vibrated through the outpost, a comforting reassurance that their defenses could hold, if only for a little longer. The pirates were clever, but the Papirians were cleverer. Logan could see the tiny soldiers darting across the walls, firing with precision at the enemy drones. The pirates' energy beams missed by mere millimeters, unable to penetrate the complex network of shields. Logan's heart pounded in his chest, but he kept moving, staying calm despite the danger. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pirate drones began to retreat. The shield system, powered by the newly stabilized core, had overwhelmed them. Logan leaned against a wall, exhausted but relieved. Ziri hovered in front of him, a tiny figure glowing with admiration and gratitude. "Human, you saved us all. You truly are the only one who fits." Logan chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I think we need to work on your phrasing next time," he said, wincing at the memory of her earlier words. Ziri tilted her head in confusion. "Why? Humans are so sensitive about instructions." Logan sighed, realizing that some misunderstandings would last forever. "Exactly," he muttered. But inside he felt a growing respect and fondness for the tiny engineer who had relied on him completely. As the dust settled on the outpost, Logan looked out toward the stars. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of dangers, adventures, and misunderstandings. But if he could survive this, perhaps he could survive anything, especially with a tiny alien engineer like Ziri by his side. He took a deep breath and smiled. This was going to be an adventure he would never forget. The pirate fleet was still in orbit, their ships circling the asteroid outpost like hungry predators. Logan could see the glint of their weapons through the observation windows. Though the outpost's shields held strong, he knew the pirates would try again. Ziri hovered next to him, tiny but determined, her eyes bright with a mix of worry and excitement. "Human, we must prepare! If they attack again, it will be much stronger." Logan nodded, gripping a small control panel. He had learned quickly that the Papirians' technology was far advanced beyond his own. Even their weapons, though tiny, could destroy a vessel 10 times the size of a human ship. Logan marveled at the design. Every rail, every turret, every energy relay was built for precision. It was like watching an entire army play a game of chess in 3 dimensions. "All right," he said. "We need to strengthen the defenses and prepare for the next strike. Can your soldiers handle more drills?" Ziri nodded vigorously. "Yes. But I want you to lead the central energy relay. Only you can reach the final panel. Without you, the system cannot respond fast enough. Logan took his place at the control console. Tiny panels glowed under his fingers, and he adjusted the energy flow to the shields. The system hummed as it redistributed power to the outer layers. At the same time, Ziri directed her soldiers with a flurry of commands. Move left, now up. Fire at their wing drones. Protect the energy conduits. The little warriors scuttled across walls, ceilings, and even the sides of the observation windows, launching tiny energy bolts at incoming pirate drones. The first wave hit suddenly. Bright streaks of energy cut through the darkness of space, striking the shields with immense force. Logan's heart raced as he monitored the panels. Hold steady, he shouted. Sparks flew from the consoles, and the hum of the reactor fluctuated dangerously. Ziri hovered above him, tiny hands clenched. Human, the left shield is weakening. Redirect power. Logan twisted knobs and pushed levers, feeling the strain in his muscles as he worked to balance the energy. Slowly, the shield stabilized, glowing brighter as the core responded to his adjustments. Got it, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. That should hold for now. Outside, the pirate drones continued their attack, but the Papyrian soldiers moved like shadows, striking with unerring accuracy. Logan watched as one tiny warrior leapt onto a drone, sticking to its surface and disabling it with a small but powerful energy blade. Another soldier fired a tiny missile that hit the drone's central processor, sending sparks flying into space. Logan couldn't help but laugh at the sheer ingenuity of these miniature warriors. But the pirates were not giving up. A larger ship, sleek and black, approached the outpost's main shield. Logan's stomach tightened. If that ship breached the shield, the entire reactor would be at risk. Ziri, that's a big one. Can your defenses handle it? He asked. Ziri's eyes narrowed. Human, we have never faced a ship this size. But together we can stop it. Trust me. She zipped toward the observation window, her small hover device weaving through the chaos. Soldiers, focus fire on the wing drones. Logan, prepare to overload the secondary shields if needed. Logan nodded, readying himself. His fingers flew over the controls as he monitored every energy pulse. The pirate ship fired, hitting the shields with a massive energy beam. The shield flickered dangerously. Now, Ziri, Logan shouted. Ziri activated a relay, and the secondary shields flared to life, absorbing the blow. Sparks flew inside the control room, and a low rumble shook the outpost. The pirate ship attempted a second strike, but the tiny Papyrians had anticipated it. They launched a coordinated attack, firing a barrage of micromissiles at the ship's hull. Logan watched in amazement as the ship began to falter, its movements clumsy under the precise strikes of the small warriors. Human now, activate the pulse stabilizer, Ziri shouted. Logan flipped a switch, sending a concentrated burst of energy through the reactor core. The core glowed brightly, stabilizing the shields further. The pirate ship shuddered under the attack, sparks flying from its outer hull. For a moment there was silence. The outpost trembled lightly, but the shields held. The pirate ship retreated, and the smaller drones scattered. Logan let out a long breath, relief washing over him. Ziri hovered close, her tiny arms waving excitedly. You did it! Human, you saved the outpost again. Logan smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. We did it together, he said, glancing at the tiny engineer. Your soldiers are incredible. Ziri tilted her head, looking at him seriously. No, Human. Without you, the core could not be stabilized. You are the only one who fits, literally and figuratively. You saved us all. Logan chuckled softly. I think we need to work on how you say things, he said. It sounds strange sometimes, Ziri blinked. Strange? How? He sighed, shaking his head. Just, let's leave it at you saved the day. That's enough. Ziri tilted her head thoughtfully, but didn't argue. Instead, she zipped over to a console and began typing rapidly. We must repair the outer hull and recharge the auxiliary systems. Human, can you help with the power conduits? Logan nodded. Lead the way. They moved through the massive outpost corridors, Logan towering over the tiny Papyrian soldiers but careful not to step on anything. The scale of the architecture was astounding. To the Papyrians, it was a normal structure, but to Logan, every corridor felt like a giant hallway, every doorway like the entrance to a cathedral. They reached the power conduit room. Ziri hovered above a panel, pointing at small, intricate machinery. Human, insert the stabilizer into the flux chamber. It is tight, but only you can do it. Logan approached, carefully sliding his hands into the narrow space. Sparks flew as he adjusted the stabilizer, twisting it into place. Scifi hovered close, giving encouragement. Yes, that's it. Perfect, keep it steady. Outside, the pirate ships had disappeared, but the threat remained. Logan worked quickly, finishing the installation and ensuring the reactor and power conduits were stable. The outpost hummed with renewed energy. Lights flickered on, panels glowed, and the shields recharged fully. Scifi hovered beside him, tiny but radiant with excitement. Human, you are extraordinary. Truly the only one who fits. Without your skill and courage, the outpost would have been lost. Logan chuckled. I guess size isn't everything, huh? Scifi tilted her head, confused. What do you mean? Never mind, he said with a small smile. Let's just say we make a good team. Over the next few hours, Logan helped the Papyrians repair minor damages, recalibrate the energy systems, and ensure the defenses were ready for any future attacks. He worked alongside the tiny engineers, learning their techniques and even teaching them some human methods. Scifi stayed close, hovering at eye level, giving precise instructions and laughing at his occasional mistakes. By the time the sun rose over the rocky asteroid, the outpost was fully operational again. Logan stood in the central corridor, exhausted but proud. Scifi floated beside him, tiny arms crossed but a satisfied smile on her face. Human, you have done more than we could ever ask. You are truly our hero. Logan looked around at the bustling Papyrians, the hum of the reactor filling the air, and felt a deep sense of accomplishment. I'm just glad I could help, he said softly. But I have to admit, I've never worked with a team like this before. Scifi tilted her head thoughtfully. You are different from the others, Human. You see things clearly. You act quickly. You understand even if it seems strange that small actions can change the outcome of big events. Logan smiled. Well, I guess that makes me... What, the only one who fits? Scifi laughed, a tiny musical sound that echoed through the corridor. Yes, and we will remember it forever. You are part of the Papyrian history now, Human. Logan chuckled, shaking his head. I'll try not to let the fame get to my head. That night, as Logan settled into the human-sized quarters Scifi had prepared for him, he reflected on everything that had happened. From the crash landing to the stabilization of the reactor, to repelling the pirates, it had been a day full of danger, excitement, and unexpected friendships. He had never imagined that such tiny beings could wield such skill, courage, and determination. Scifi hovered at the doorway, smiling at him. Rest well, Human. Tomorrow we have more work, but for now, sleep. You deserve it? Logan nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged somewhere, not just as a mechanic or a human, but as part of a team that valued his skill, courage, and heart. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought about the adventures yet to come. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and dangers, but he knew he was ready. With Scifi and the Papyrians by his side, he could face anything. And perhaps, just perhaps, he could survive not only the stars but the awkward phrasing of his tiny, brilliant engineer. Tomorrow, the adventure would continue, but tonight, Logan allowed himself a rare moment of peace, knowing he had earned the respect of a species not by size, but by courage, skill, and the willingness to act when no one else could.